Do you dislike setting long-term goals? Find that they don't really help because your short-term goals kind of leave you spinning your wheels, never actually getting closer to that goal on the horizon? Let me introduce you to a particular idea or a technique called backcasting that I think could help with that. Hi, I'm Mike, and usually I talk about games or game design on this channel. But I wanted to put out a pair of videos about planning, both short-term with SMART goals and long-term with backcasting, because I think they're useful ideas to have in your repertoire. So what is backcasting? It's a kind of the inverse of forecasting. So usually when you're setting goals, you're placing yourself in the present mindset where you are today, and you're looking off at a distant horizon, basically, where your goal is that you want to work towards. And so from today, you choose the path that, based on your experience, will be most likely to get you to that distant point in the future. This is forecasting. Backcasting has you doing the exact opposite. You imagine yourself at that point in the future when your goal has been achieved, and then you work back in steps until you reach the present. So you can see all of the steps that you will need to hit on the way to reaching your goal. So these steps aren't necessarily going to be the goals that you're going to be achieving, but they are going to be like a list of requirements basically for reaching that goal in the long term. So that seems simple enough as a concept, I think. But let's go through an example so you can actually see it in action. And I'll use my own long-term goal as the example that we'll work through. My long-term goal is to have a game design studio. And if we were to use the traditional form of forecasting to set goals, what are some of the things that I see from here that I think I can do to reach those goals? Two things immediately come to mind. One, I could put a lot of time and effort into making a game that will then hopefully sell, that will provide the capital to be able to hire people to work in a studio. Or two, I could go out and fundraise to try and start up a studio based on the money that I've been able to fundraise. And those are the only two things that I can think of at the moment that would get me towards that goal. And which one is more valuable to pursue? I'm not entirely sure. There are pros and cons to each. Now let's try this backcasting technique. We'll put ourselves in the mindset of we are now in the future and we have this successful game development studio. What are the steps that have brought us here? Well, if we are a successful game development studio, we have sold games, which means that we have a game that people wanted to buy. We have a product to sell, which means that the word had gotten out about the game. And since I want it to be a studio, I'm going to need to be working with more than just myself. I'm going to need to hire people, which means I'm going to need to have enough financial capital to be able to do that, which kind of brings us back to today. So if we go back to the first exercise of forecasting and our two options there, which one of those makes the most sense based on all of the requirements that we just laid out from the backcasting exercise? Since we need to let people know about the game, there's a third option that I think presents itself, which is to make a YouTube channel. In my case here in particular, this is an exercise that I did about 6 months ago before I started this YouTube channel. And I think this is a great way to start building a community of people who are interested in the works that I create. And I think that this also, assuming that we reach YouTube monetization levels, will help with that financial aspect as well. And so that's an example of how I used backcasting to find an option that wasn't even available to me if I was just doing the traditional forecasting method. I will say that this is slightly unusual in that that third option doesn't always present itself, but I think more often than not, using the technique of backcasting will help you to make a more informed decision about what your options are moving forward. I think backcasting at the very least is a great way to help you choose your short-term goals in order to push you towards that long-term goal of the thing that you really want to do. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, hitting the like button will help to push it out to a wider audience who might also benefit from this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you missed my video on setting short-term goals with SMART goals, there'll be a video popping up now. And that's it for me for today, so good luck on your games and take care of yourselves. Bye now. And if we go back to the first exercise of forecasting, trying to figure out what... Hi, yes. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Ah, yes. And then since I want to make it a studio, we'll need to have, oh yes, oh, you want more attention. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right.